Welcome back to Shark Coast Tactical Podcast, episode 21. My name is Will Mead. I am the owner. I am here with our special guest, Wick.
What's up?
My homies, Omar.
Hello.
Luke Andrews.
What up?
And the amazing Dean Carroll. How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Good?
Great.
Another week has gone by. Another week away from the hurricane.
Yeah.
The hurricanes really got you.
Oh my God. You just don't understand, man. It's really tough.
Yeah, back-to-back hurricanes.
You can't be closed as a business for 8 days and not feel the effects. Like it's tough. Like it's a tough thing. Like I've been, I've been closed other times, but yeah, in 8 days it's tough.
Well, it seems different now because you have all the production side.
Yeah.
Whereas, a couple of years ago, you were not that big a production for the rest of America. So being shut down for 8 days, throws monkey wrenches, not into your stuff, but a lot of other people too.
Oh, it fucks everything up. It's just, yeah, but no, I'm definitely PTSD'd about over it. But every day I feel better.
That's good.
So we brought Wick here, and I've known Wick for, how long do you think? 13 years?
I met you when you had 2 tables at the gun show.
Which was 13 years ago.
Yep.
Okay. Do you remember what gun show? Miami, maybe?
No, I think it was Orlando.
Orlando.
Yeah.
And I always knew, who the fuck are you, Wick?
I'm an asshole from the internet that makes NPE tools, other knives, and does general fuckery.
What's an MPE tool?
Non-permissive environment.
So you specialize in this.
Yeah.
You specialize in sharp objects.
That look like something else. So they make it through, the eye test, the x-ray test, and the metal detectors.
And how did you get into that?
Because other people that sell them charge way too much and make a unique product.
Okay, so you garnered the idea from somebody, you saw it. But I mean, I've known you. You've been making knives and selling all kinds of shit for years.
Yeah.
So I knew you from you were making knives, you were selling knives, and you're selling stuff like surplus stuff and anything really. Like you're the guy that had 2 or 3 tables at the gun show, and you just had fucking shit on your tables.
Yeah, I would have 2 tables of the knives and stuff I would make, and then just random surplus stuff I would come across. Now everything is pivoted because 13 years ago selling stuff off Instagram or the internet in general was way harder. Now I have a decent following on Instagram, so it's I make a knife, it's gone instantly. I still do gun shows.
You do?
I don't bring any of the stuff I make with me because it sells instantly. The weekends are my vacation away from my shop having to make stuff, and I like buying guns. And the best way to buy guns is from people walking around at a gun show.
Here.
It's ungodly cheap. You lowball the fuck out of somebody, and sometimes they say yes, and you're like, I just got a $1,200 gun for $300. This is probably stolen.
The genesis of Wick. So first I knew you as selling knives at a gun show, and you were just constantly doing your thing year in, year out. And then you started working with John, helping him with triggers. And then you started doing stippling, and your stippling's good. And then I kind of lost track of you, and you were living at a range or something. There was the range down there that some guy let everybody use.
So I actually started that range. So I'll fill in from. So I started working for Johnny because he called me and was like, "Hey, can you come in and work a couple days a week and just help me make parts?" Because it's the same machinery that I make knives with, all the belt sanders and all that stuff. So I was like,
okay.
Yeah. So he wasn't expecting me to be able to make parts at the rate that I can make them. So what he figured would take me 3 days, I would get done in 4 hours. So then I would just fuck around his shop and do whatever till he was like, "Hey, here's another small pile of stuff for you to do the second have to." And then as he grew, it ended up I would actually be there every day, and I would only work 3 or 4 hours a day, but I would still be there. And some other people were doing framework back then, when framework was just starting.
Okay.
And they were charging an arm and a leg for it. And I was like, it takes me 90 minutes from start to finish, like polished undercuts, gas pedal, and like whatever stipple pattern they want. Why should I charge like $350, $400 for this? Just because like, but you have to bring it to me. Like, I don't want to deal with the mail-in crap. So like, that's how I was doing framework through Johnny's and whatnot. Then this old guy I knew wanted to have a range down in North Fort Myers. He had 150 acres, but he had no idea how to do a range. So it's like, well, I'll come out, I'll build a range, I'll brand it, I'll do all that, like run social media. So I ended up starting the Bullet Farm.
The Bullet Farm.
And
I remember the Bullet Farm.
Yeah, like that did really well on social media. Like that account got up to just over 500,000 followers. And it was doing really good. The government was fucking with us hardcore because so like the Bureau of Land Management, Water Management, like basically every alphabet agency that isn't like the ATF, they wanted to dictate what you could and couldn't do on the
Isn't the Bureau of Land Management the people who fuck the Indians?
Probably.
Okay.
Like they fuck everybody. It's the government.
Right.
It's their job. So like I went through like all the laws and everything and figured out all of the legal loopholes. Like once he already had cattle out there because that made his taxes way cheaper. So if you had cattle on the land, you're allowed to move dirt anywhere you want, build berms, do anything, and the land management and water management can't say shit.
Yeah.
So I had like really nice, extremely large horseshoe berms. So, you know, you're a good shooter. I'm sure you guys are all good shooters. The random ass person coming out there, I have no idea who you are. I don't know if you're going to have an ND or anything. So if you're in a bay, I want to make sure everybody else around there's safe. So I had very large, nice berms made. Well, the government came out and they were like, one of the water management said, this is all fine, but we need you to move it 50 feet that way, the whole thing. And I was like, do you understand? There's like 1,500 dump truck loads of dirt here. We're not moving it that way. And they were like, well, you have to. And I was like, why? They're like, it's affecting the natural sheet flow of water. And I was like, no, it's not. They were like, yes, it is. I'm like, no, it's not. The reason water backs up here is you guys, not you specifically, but you as the government, built a berm that runs along the entire side of Florida. They were like, no, we didn't. I'm like, yeah, it's called 75. We are on the east side of 75. All the water sheet flows trying to get to the Gulf, and you guys built a berm, and there's not enough little tunnels going under it to let the water go through. That's why water backs up on everyone's property over here during rainy season, and it's not my berm.
How did they like you telling them that they built a berm called I-75?
Oh, it was just like deer in the headlights, like the gears in their head just went, they couldn't comprehend it. I was like, it is literally a berm. Like, so I live east of 75 here in Sarasota. The dramatic line of shit getting fucked up from the hurricanes west of 75 versus east of 75 is dramatic. Like, the only thing that happened in my neighborhood is we lost power for like 12 hours because like a branch landed on the main power lines and branches and trees fell down. That's it. Like there was no other damage to anything. Like nobody lost roofs, had like major damage. It's just that small difference in how it affects the wind, water, everything. So like I explained all that shit to them years and years ago and they just couldn't comprehend it. And then I threatened them because I'm an asshole. And they were like, well, you have to do it. Otherwise, we're going to eminent domain the property. I'm like, well, I pulled up the social media and was like, I have 500,000 followers. I'm also friends with the TV studio who at that time, that SRQ or Siesta Key, that really reality show where they tried to do like a Jersey Shores type thing. But for the...
You're friends with them?
Yeah, the people, they used to do McGowan's podcast. That's where he ran his studio out of.
I thought MTV did it.
No. It was on there, but the filming company was here. So,
okay.
Like MTV bought it from these people, but the actual studio and everyone who filmed it they're like 35 minutes from where we're sitting.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was friends with those guys and I was like, hey, if they continue to fuck with me, want to do a reality show about this on how the government is trying to fuck with the little gun owner? And they were like, oh, we'd love this. So I told them that. I was like, so basically what that means is if you continue to fuck with me over shit that is legal, because here's the laws saying I'm allowed to do it. They were like, well, we don't recognize those laws. I'm like, I don't give a shit whether or not you recognize them. It's the law. So if you want to fuck with me, I'll make you famous to the point you can't go in Publix and buy a pub sub without somebody saying you're an asshole.
So they
backed off.
Okay, but the range isn't there anymore.
No. So I was leasing the property from the owner. Like, he wanted the range and everything. So I was like, we're going to do it this way. We'll be 50-50. I'm going to set up the range. I'm going to do all this. You have your portion that you have to do, and I'm paying you.
Didn't you have like a little commune out there?
No, that was a different thing I did. I'll tell you about that.
Wasn't there like there were a bunch of ratty trailers with like, I don't know, like your posse. They're all living in trailers out there, right?
No, that was a whole nother property.
That's a whole nother place.
Oh, that's a whole nother thing.
Okay.
I'll tell you about that one.
All right.
But no, there was a whole bunch of old trailers and just random stuff.
People weren't living in there?
No, this was nobody lived on this property.
It wasn't like the 2A commune?
No, we set up there was like a 10-acre airsoft field out there because the amount of people that wanted a place to play airsoft, and you can get free old dogged out campers off Craigslist and Marketplace. So we would just haul them out there and set up like a shitty trailer park for kids to come play airsoft in. So that would happen like once a month. But the reason the whole range shut down, it shut down a little bit after COVID when nobody could get ammo, and when you could get ammo, it was like $1.10 per round for 9mm. Nobody could afford to shoot. The neighbor we were having a lawsuit with because he didn't like the property owner, because I didn't know at the time that the property owner was actually a massive scumbag. I figured that out after the fact. And even the neighbor said, I have no problem with the range. I'm just using the range as a means to sue George because he's fucked me over so many times. I was like, all right. So we ended up shutting down during COVID.
What'd you do with all the dirt?
I just left it there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So George still has a...
No, he died. He was old.
George died?
Yeah, he was old. He had a heart attack. So then the property went into probate, and like I think the kids are all fighting over it currently or something. I don't know. But because he wasn't intelligent enough to like fight the lawsuit properly, he just said, I give up. And then there was a ruling put forth by the judge that the range is not allowed to be there anymore, and nobody is ever allowed to shoot a gun on that property again unless it is for self-defense. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure you can't do that, but whatever. I had nothing to do with it at that point. I'd already moved back up here. So
you're living down there?
Yeah, it was Fort Myers.
Were you living in a trailer on the range?
No, I was, no, it would have been nice though. It would have been much, much more fun.
Wouldn't that be fun? You're not into a trailer, Dean?
No, not me.
I think he judging from the conversation I heard them talking about computers earlier, roughing it does not seem like their forte.
If the trailer had Wi-Fi, it'd be a whole different conversation.
So you doing the bullet farm, then you're working for Johnny at the same time?
Yeah, I was doing that during the week, and then the bullet farm on the weekend, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
But you did live in a commune kind of thing, right?
So my buddy Brent, who was a Marine, he bought 5 acres out in Hendry County, which is like the edge of like LaBelle.
What did you call it? It was called like Swamp People or some shit. What was it called?
No,
you had a little name for you guys.
No, we were just the rednecks.
No, there was like a name, like it had some fucking name to it. Oh God,
I don't even.
All right, I'll think of it. Hold on.
So anyhow, he had 5 acres.
He fucking turned you off, Dean. Did you see that?
There we go.
There you go.
Middle of nowhere, like 3 dirt roads away from a shittily paved road, like middle of nowhere. And we're all just like, hey, let's go buy a bunch of campers, like not shitty campers, and go live off grid and do all that. So we were doing that. We like built a water tower and like had a whole system. We had solar panels. Like we had power. We had everything out there. It was awesome. We were just having a grand old time. And code enforcement came out there and they were like, you're not allowed to live out here. And we're like, why? He owns the property. He was like, it's my property. They were like, no, if you want to live out here, you have to run utilities out here and you have to have a structure permitted and built of a minimum of 800 square feet. And we're like, why? They're like, that's the rules. So we're like, all right, so we'll do that. we had to pay for every power pole that would have to be run all the way out there. And
Yeah.
it actually would have cost like 4 times what he paid for the whole property just to get power out there. And we're like, well, all right, this was fun. But like, it was just one of those, let's see what all we can do while we're out here and how well we can just live off grid.
You're really pissing me off by not telling me the name.
I don't
Your little
remember.
band of.
He knows it.
No, I don't even remember.
God, it was like because these videos would pop up on Instagram of them doing fucking shenanigans, and it was called like something like redneck something, and I was like, what is this? And I didn't really understand what it, and I think that's when I kind of I think I lost track of you. Like I saw these videos and like these are kind of weird, man, and then you popped up and you had like 60,000 followers and you're making these things.
Well, I've been making those for years.
Really?
Yeah.
And people make these and charge a lot of money for them.
Yeah. So
And you make them and don't charge a lot of money for them.
no. So I charge $35 shipped. Here.
That seems like a lot of money.
It's not. So I'll show you why.
Okay.
So most people that make them, they just super glue the carbon fiber or G10 rod right in the end. So if you hit something hard with it, it just pops out. I do it a little different.
Explain what it is.
So it is a stabbing implement. So any place.
Is it a Sharpie? Do you take a Sharpie and make it?
Well, I mean, technically it'll still write. You just got to stab somebody first.
No, is it?
So it's an actual Sharpie. So I go buy actual Sharpies at Sam's
So you
Club.
do, okay.
Because that's the cheapest place to buy them.
Okay.
And then I gut them, and then the hole is actually 4 millimeters, but there's like these little fins that poke out to hold the felt in place. So I pull the felt out, I drill that out, I pop it apart, pull the ink pack out, and then I take the 4 millimeter carbon fiber rod that I've cut to that length and sharpened, and I put it in there. I take 2 drops of Sinbad filler glue, put on the end, and that creates a seal right here. And I let that dry. That filler glue also, any pores that are in the carbon fiber, soaks into that, makes it stronger, so it, has a better tip for stabbing. Then I take Total Boat 2-part epoxy, and I backfill the black part that goes up to right there, let that dry, and then the carbon fiber pokes up to there. Then, you probably can't see it, but there's a tiny little hole right there, and I backfill the housing with the Total Boat 2-part epoxy as well, and I push it together, and then the epoxy like squishes out the end, and I wipe it off. So this is solid epoxy in there, so it's actually strong.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I let the little bit of epoxy that's left, because I do these in batches, I let it sit so it starts to get tacky, and I poke the end of the carbon fiber in it, and then I wipe it with just a paper towel so it has that like almost felt looking texture, just like the real Sharpies do. I let that dry for a little bit. Then the ink pack that was in here originally, I just stick the end of it in there. So before the epoxy is completely dry, it soaks up the coloration. So that way, when you actually look at it, it looks like a Sharpie. Because there's a bunch of people that make them out of all kinds of different material. Like they'll just basically take a nail and sharpen it and have it in there, or just any piece of metal. And you open it and it's clearly a piece of metal. That doesn't pass the eye test. It also pops on like x-ray machines versus mine looks like a marker on an x-ray machine. If you go on my Instagram, it's like one of the penned ones up top. But yeah, so people like these. People really like the G10 knives and stuff, but I make a whole variety of these. Like I do the different colors of Sharpies. I do the super Sharpies. I do the Milwaukee markers, the Walmart brand Heart markers, a bunch of random China markers, just random stuff that will pass the eye test. So the reason this is a thing that people like, think of all the places that you go that's a soft target, Disney, football game, any place you have to walk through a metal detector or an x-ray machine and you can't have your knife or gun. Those are always the places that assholes go to shoot up and try to do bad things. So it may not be your best option because, I'd much rather have a gun. But if you cannot have a gun and you cannot have your knife and you want something to be able to get somebody off of you, these work pretty well. Or let's say if you're like a female walking through the parking lot at 2 a.m., and there's somebody that's like slightly sketching you out as you're going towards your car. If you have this in your hand, they're never going to think anything of it. And then if they like walk up and grab you and you pop that off and hit them a few times, they're going to start leaking quite a lot and realize they just made a shitty choice. But yeah, I make tools that look like something else so you can defend yourself.
How long you been doing that?
15 years. I've been doing it before I met you.
Okay, so like this whole, and it's a whole like culture kind of thing now. It's a whole like subgenre of knives, right?
Yeah.
Like stuff like this. He gave me this.
So that is 3/8 inch thick G10. So it's not a real good cutting implement. It's a really good stabbing implement. And if you stab in where the blade is and pull out, it will cut through. It's just not good for like cutting rope or anything like that. But it's one of those things where it's undetectable. Like it goes straight through metal detectors with no problem. And then you have something to use if somebody gets stupid.
So did you grow your following to 60,000 through these things?
Partially, and just shenanigans. So a lot of
When you say shenanigans, what do you mean?
just insert some of my Instagram videos. I'm sure tech guy there knows how to do that. But
Okay.
like I'll do so. Like over the weekend, I was at an armory doing a gun show. So I found a meme that was, it was like, do this. And then it's like, the next brain evolution. And then the bottom it was acquire an M4 from the National Guard Armory.
Okay.
So I was like, I took a video standing in front of the armory. Nobody knew it was a gun show going on in the video. So I was like, guys, I just found a meme. It's my new goal. And then I cut to that meme. And then it cuts back to me with a Colt AR set up exactly like the Marines would have it. So, the ACOG, just everything. And then just me running away from the building holding it. I got it. We got to go. We got to go. And that's it. Like just shenanigans.
Yeah, I saw that video and I was like, how's he not getting in trouble for being outside the armory gone like that?
Well, I saw a video and you're trying to find a Humvee.
Oh, yeah, the Humvee keys. So at a different armory, I did so for one of the gun show circuit that I primarily do, I'm also their security.
Which one's that?
USA Gun Shows. It's mostly North Florida. So I'm their security, so I get bored at night and just do shenanigans videos. So me and one of the other guys, we just threw up pop-up tents in the front of the armory just for videos and shenanigans. And it was, so Friday night, it was, all right, we're going to take over the armory. We're going to turn it into the new Chaz Chop. So anyone who pays attention to, all the shit that goes on the other side of the aisle, we're like, we'll just make fun of them. And so then it was night 2. We've now acquired, this, and then so on and so forth. And then
But it's the gun show armory.
yeah. So we're supposed to be there.
It's a word.
But nobody on the internet knows why.
Including me.
Yeah. So it works.
It works,
And,
yeah.
So then I was like, all right, what do we want to do now? Like, clearly we're not taking over the armory. There's like 2 of us here. And then I was like, I know, let's do a video saying we have to find the Humvee keys to tactically acquire a Humvee. If anybody knows anything about Humvees, there's no such thing as Humvee keys. So that was just the whole joke. We're trying to find the Humvee keys. And then I just had my set of keys. And I was like, all right, we found keys. And then we're in the back just staring at a Humvee. We're like, there's no hole. What are we supposed to do with the keys? And then just...
Okay.
Stupid. Yeah, just stupid shit. People like stupid shit on the internet.
I'll have to remember that.
Yeah. It's like all the videos I used to do at Johnny's, just like throwing rubber frogs at Larry and she would get scared and it was funny.
Yeah, but you didn't grow your account to 60,000, let alone 500,000.
Yeah.
Like the Johnny account was never built that. Like that's a significant.
No, remember when his account was like going slowly and then all of a sudden it picked up a whole bunch of speed?
Yeah.
That's because he said, here, run my account for me.
Okay.
And I started doing shenanigans, showing like, here's what we're actually doing, then here's us having fun. There's, like, you can talk about every single gun on these walls around here, and you're the 1,000th, person that's done that.
Okay.
But if you show, what do you have, 70 people working here?
70.
70. Yeah, if you show, like, the shenanigans that goes on with them and just them having fun and add in the human element to it, people like that. Like, I can sit there and show like, hey, here's making a marker, here's making a knife, here's this whole process. After you've seen that 5 times, it's not interesting anymore. But if I'm making jokes the whole time, if I'm, just like, oh, so I'm doing this. Well, now I'm over here doing this because like I got sidetracked with some ADD moments. It's like I'll be in the middle of doing something and it's like, oh, and now I'm going to go pick up a camper because I found one on Marketplace for $2,500 and I'm going to go see if I can drive it to my house. And now I have 3 campers at my house because I keep finding cheap campers. Yeah, if you ever come to my house, you're going to be like, oh, wow, you don't belong in this neighborhood.
Why?
It's a multi-million-dollar neighborhood, and then there's me. Like, everybody else has, like, Teslas and brand new vehicles, and I'm just
Do you
like,
think you might get another visit from government officials?
oh, yeah, code enforcement was there a couple weeks ago, and that dude was just like, I love everything you're doing here. So let me explain to you how this works. So it was after the first hurricane. I had all the debris piled out front the way you're supposed to. And the HOA Karen was like, no, I don't want the debris out there. You need to put it all in trash bags. I'm like, you understand they send trucks around with a claw to pick all this shit up. She's like, no, they won't pick it up if it's not in a bag. And I'm like,
It's too big to put in bags.
yeah. You can't put this shit in bags. So we had an argument. And so she's like, all right, I'll just call code enforcement. It's like, sure, whatever. So code enforcement showed up after they'd already picked up all the stuff, and he's like, well, there's no stuff out here, so you're good. But Sarasota law says you can only have 2 trailers on your property. Doesn't matter if it's like a work trailer, camper trailer, any kind of trailer, you can only have 2 on your property. Doesn't matter how big a property you have. And
You can allegedly only have 9. You can't have 9 dogs, too.
You're also not technically supposed to have a raccoon, and I have one of those as well. No, I actually have a pet raccoon. His name's Maverick.
I told you, did we talk about how the lady got mad about I had dogs?
No.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it, though. People are dumb.
I was walking my dogs, and I think I live like in a not a commune, but like a little enclave of liberal, older single women.
Do they all have the Karen cut?
They all have the Karen cut.
I feel sorry for you.
They all have the Karen cut, or they have like a buzz cut. And I walk my dogs every day. I walk 3 of them, and then 3 of them. And then I let the 4 puppies just kind of run around that back because they're too wild. And I'm walking, and I thought this lady was like kind of. I can't say her.
Sure you can. Bring it back.
But I thought this lady was like kind of. And because every day I'd walk the dogs, and she'd give me like this look at me, and I had such a great experience with the hurricane, so I had kind of enough, and so I turned around, and I'm walking, and she's still looking at me like that, and I'm like, ma'am, why do you give me death face every time I walk my dogs by you? Why do you do it? I mean, we've lived here for 5 years. And she's like, you're not allowed to have 9 dogs in the county of Sarasota. And I'm going to call. And in spite of it, I don't call the county on you. And the reason I give you dirty looks, I'm like, why would you give me dirty? Who said? She's like, I will look at you however I want to look at you. And
man.
She said that to me. and I said, so she said that to me, and I even thinking about it, I get taken aback. I get because of how foul she was. But I said, well, why do you look at me that way? She's like, because your dogs pee.
What?
No, I shit you not. She said, because your dogs pee, and they pee on stuff. I'm like, but they're dogs. Like, they're going to pee. And she's like, I know. And like, do you see my trees? I'm like, you don't really have any trees. And she's like, because your dogs peed all over them. I'm like, ma'am, I mean, my dogs will never walk on your property again, and they'll never pee on your property again. But still, why would you look at me that way? Why would you just give me like death face every day? And she's like, I'll look at you however I want to look at you. And I wasn't going to call the county on your dogs, but now I am.
Oh.
And then I went home to grab my wife because I thought my wife would like beat her up, and my wife just told me to get in the house, stop causing problems. Yeah.
What's funny, though, is people like that, when there's an actual problem, they have no idea what to do.
Yeah, I mean, she was one of the people on my street without a generator.
This is okay. So this is funny. Like I just said, I live in a multi-million-dollar neighborhood. I think I'm the only person that had a quiet run generator. Like I'm like, as soon as the power went out, it's just, and I'm like, why is it so fucking loud here? Like, why am I the only one? Like, I have a quiet run generator, and then I have a smaller quiet run generator in case that one shits the bed on me. Like, I have a backup for my backup, and everyone else is just these massive loud things. I'm like, you can hear that on the other side of 75. Like, if shit's down long enough, like all the people that live like more towards downtown that have nothing and they have no food, they're going to be like, oh, let's just travel towards the sound of people that have stuff. Like, why does nobody think about that?
I've never thought about that, but that sounds, yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah, you head towards generators, air conditioning, and food.
oh, it's not even that. Like, if you have generators going, like even at night, if you're going to hear it from a further distance. And if you have all your lights on and everything, you're going to be able to see if everything else is dark and your house and your neighbor houses are like all lit up, you'll be able to see a little glow from way off in the distance and be like, oh, I should go over there and see if I can kill them and take their stuff.
Now, you've been in the gun community in Sarasota, in Florida, for at least 13 years.
Yeah.
What do you think social media has done to the gun community, like positives and negatives, or the prepper community?
So it used to be like if you were a prepper, you were just a crazy person. But I used to explain it to people like this. I'm like, do you live in Florida? And if they said yes, we're like, do you have, a couple cases of water and some extra canned food for when a hurricane hits? Yeah? Okay, you're a prepper. Because there used to be that mentality that if you were a prepper, you were waiting for the zombies to show up. And it's like, no, you're a prepper because you give a shit about your family and maybe a few people outside of your family, like friends, maybe some neighbors. And if things go sideways, you want to make sure that, they have food, water, and, we're in Florida. It's hotter than Satan's taint 90% of the time here.
Satan's taint.
Yeah.
That'd be a good name for a band.
Yes, it would.
Or that could be the name for your group of friends, Omar.
Really?
The Satan Taint Gang.
I'll consider it.
Okay.
No,
But,
I'll make you shirts.
sure you will.
yeah. And then
I'm making sure.
it's like, even if you
We'll
want
do
to
it too.
take it down a couple notches for the people that, maybe don't live in Florida and they don't have, water and food and stuff. It's like, all right, do you carry a spare tire in your car?
Uh-huh.
Why?
Just in case.
Just in case.
Zombies show up, obviously.
Yeah. You can pick up that tire and just throw it at them. No, it's like you don't ever plan on getting a flat tire. You don't plan on running over the nail or whatever, but it happens, especially if you drive around a lot. So you want to be able to just fix it and continue on your day instead of having to wait 3 hours for AAA to show up and tell you you're dumb. So
My wife changes my tire.
do you need some lessons? Do you want me to?
She just kind of takes everything from my hands and it's like, I'll do it.
But
It's pretty embarrassing.
that's just being prepared in general. Like you have your like apocalypse van out there.
Uh-huh.
Like that's super useful. Like you have a van that is slightly lifted. If it's flooding, you can just drive wherever you need
Yep.
to, and you can fit a whole lot of shit in the back of that. If you're driving a Miata, your car is just going to float away. If you're driving a Tesla, it'll go underwater, then catch fire while underwater.
What about a Mazda?
That would be the Miata. Isn't that a Mazda?
Yeah, Omar has a Mazda.
I do not.
What is it then?
It's a Hyundai.
Ah, same thing.
Is it like this far off the ground?
It's an SUV.
Okay, you're fine then. But yeah, it's the same reason we all carry a handgun, everywhere we go. Like you just want to be prepared because stupid things happen.
So what effect has the internet done, like that you've seen over the past 13 years?
It's allowed people to see situations where shit went sideways, and the people that were prepared were not only able to help their immediate families, but generally were so prepared that they were able to start helping fix their communities. Like, how many people did you see after the hurricanes here when trees fell down across the roads? It wasn't the National Guard out there with chainsaws. It wasn't like tree crews out there with chainsaws. It was Tim from next door that just so happened to have a chainsaw in his garage, and the guy over there, and they're all out there cutting them up, getting it so the roads would be accessible again.
It was a
Weird, right?
It was a lot of pickup trucks and not a lot of Teslas.
Yeah, exactly. Because like, how are you going to charge your Tesla? Oh my gosh! So I made a video talking about how when there's no power, you need something that runs on gas. And there were people arguing with me that their Teslas were just fine during a storm with no power. I'm like, how are you charging it? They weren't actually in the storm. Like, they were from other parts of America. I'm like, how are you going to charge? They're like, well, you can charge it with a generator. I'm like, yes, you can, but that generator is going to use more gas to charge your Tesla for you to drive 200 miles than it would be in any other car to drive that same amount of distance. So you are wasting resources in a shitty situation just because you want to have an electric vehicle.
You know, it's the exact same thing for carbon emissions.
Yeah.
And like how electric cars are supposed to be good for the climate. That's why the government is subsidizing them. It uses more natural resources to make the electricity to make that car run than if you were just to put it in the car and go.
What's super funny is half the Tesla charging stations.
Is it worse for the environment?
Yes.
Like
Oh,
what?
yeah,
What's
significantly worse.
the
The production of the electricity to make the Teslas run is worse for the. If today every single car in America was electric, it would be worse for the environment than if every car was a pickup truck.
Not only that, our grid couldn't handle it.
Oh, absolutely not.
Like if you actually go look at the Tesla charging stations, like half of them, there's one of those like big diesel generators behind a fence somewhere near, and that's what's actually charging your Tesla. So you're charging your Tesla with diesel fuel. You don't want to have like a diesel truck or a gas car, but you'll let a diesel generator charge your car.
They're kind of fast though.
Who cares?
I mean, no, there are some cool things about the Teslas.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
They're great cars, but like the thing they're being advertised for, which is it's great for the environment, super clean. Like, no, that electricity has to come from somewhere. It doesn't just, I feel like people have strayed so far away from how things work because in their mind it's just I plug it in and it charges.
yeah.
That's the extent of the thought that they've put into it. That's the extent of the critical thinking. Like that electricity comes from somewhere, and it uses up more. It causes more carbon emissions, and it is worse for the environment to get all that electricity into that car than if you were to just put gas in it and go.
Oh, the carbon emissions from the factories.
Exactly. Yeah. The places that produce the electricity. It is
right.
And I know somebody's going to say it. You cannot run every car in the United States off of solar and wind.
No.
If we were all nuclear, that would be the best possible option.
Yeah,
that's the one exception. But for whatever reason, the same people that are against diesel cars are the ones that are against nuclear energy.
Even though it's the cleanest form of energy.
By far.
Yeah,
Really?
It makes no sense.
But yeah, the thing about nuclear is 100% just coming out of fear, and it is fear that's backed up by large corporations that have a lot of money invested into energy being expensive. But nuclear energy is so much more cleaner that it's not even on the same spectrum. It's not even comparable. It is by far the cleanest way of producing energy that we have, and it's not even close. Like, not even close.
I didn't know that.
It is so much more plentiful. It is so much more efficient. It is so much cleaner. If every piece of electricity we made in this country was nuclear, we'd be in a new age.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Didn't Elon say you need like 6? You need 6 nuclear power plants or something.
You don't need much.
And you can power the whole world.
It's in my mind, it's the greatest marvel, one of the greatest marvels we've created as a civilization, and people fear it because of things like Chernobyl and Fukushima.
Which are
Three
other
Mile
countries that don't have safety standards.
Exactly.
Like
these are things that happen because people cut corners and made a safety flaw that was never corrected, even if it was discovered, like with Chernobyl. They knew that there was a safety flaw, and they were just like, yeah, it's going to be too much money to replace. Fuck it. If we put that effort into making safe, decent, put the money into the power plant to make it work, it'll pay for itself instantly, I guarantee it.
yeah.
What's your basic setup for power, food, and water during a hurricane? Like, what do you have? Or what can you recommend for people?
All right, so for my generators, I have the Predator Quiet Runs from Harbor Freight because they work really well, and they're like a third the price of like a Honda generator.
They haven't broken? They have broke?
No, like their generators are the shit, and they have warranties.
We have broke many things from Harbor Freight.
Oh yeah, their tools are not great at all. Their generators, their generators are decent. Like, and I use them constantly. I also have a trash pump. That way, if you need to pump, it's a water pump, the 2-inch hose, and you drop it down in something. So if like you have a low spot in your yard or whatever, and you need to pump water out of it, so everything dries out faster. Got it. A creek runs behind my house, so I just if water's pooling somewhere, I just pump it straight into the creek. So you need some form of power if you care about power. If you don't care about, running an air conditioner or fridges or anything like that, you can just get a couple solar panels. You don't need to buy a solar generator kit. Just buy some solar panels and the little inverter and just get a bunch of old car batteries, and you can charge your power tools. So, Ryobi, DeWalt, whatever you want. And you can have a fan, you can have lights, and then you'll just be able to have those infinitely until the power comes back on. So that way, a fan at night when it's hot as fuck is nice. And
So you prepared all this stuff for the hurricane, and your power was only gone for 2 hours.
Well, I have all this stuff all the time anyway, just for
Okay.
different stuff.
Were you dying to use it? You're like, fuck yeah!
No, I have.
Use all my shit.
Well, I use the generators to power my my welder and plasma cutter,
Okay.
so I know they work. But for food, I happen to have like walls of MRE, like cases of MREs, just because I can. I don't ever want to eat them because they're MREs. They'll make a turd, but they're not great. If you don't have money to do that, just get rice and beans, and then something people don't think about, add seasonings into your 5-gallon buckets that you're keeping your rice and beans in, because just plain rice and beans are going to get old real quick. Canned food never actually goes bad. I got a shit ton of canned food. Like that expiration date, as long as the can has not like puffed out and deformed, the food inside is perfectly fine. Doesn't matter if it expired 12 years ago, it's going to taste exactly the same. And then, like, if you live in a humid environment, peel the paper label off the can, write on it with a Sharpie what it is, because if the label holds the moisture against the can, it'll cause the can to degrade, and then the food goes bad because the can went bad. You need a way to have water, because without water, you die a lot faster than if you don't have food.
How do you contain water? Do you have bottles, or do you have this big, like...
I just have Sawyer
Great.
water filters.
You
So
have
I
what?
can, it's Sawyer brand water filters. One of them that's like this big around and like that long will filter like 1 million gallons of water, and it gets 99.99999% of everything out of the water. I'll drink straight swamp water. Like when I'm out in the swamps, like hunting and doing stuff, like I'll just filter it through that and drink it, and it's perfectly fine. And you do not want to ingest swamp water in Florida. There's all kinds of stuff that'll kill you. So they work.
Swamp water.
That's crazy.
Why are you like nodding your head on? Like, yeah, swamp water.
It's all stuff that I've heard in many other sources as well. The filter thing is insane. Like they even make like straws that are filtrated, so you can literally just stick it into the swamp and drink out of it.
Yep.
And the water that reaches your mouth is just clear, perfectly clear water.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And through a straw, like a small straw, and nobody
it's
filtered
like
by-
that big around.
Thicker, yeah. It's like
And then they're like that long.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But the inside is a filter, and you can literally just stick it into any water source and start drinking. And
Yeah, it's called the Life Straw.
life straw, yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta check this out.
And then
What about for firearms? What do you recommend people use in this hurricane situation?
All right, so for your sidearm Glock, just any Glock, the fewer parts in a gun, the fewer things that can break. So it's more likely to function. If you don't have, like I like SIG. SIG is like super ergonomic and comfy, but they're insanely over-engineered. So they're super fun as long as you're not in the Florida environment. Like I just don't trust the handgun in Florida with all the crap I do, because there's too much stuff that can get down in there and cause it to jam up. Whereas a Glock is basically the caveman's gun. Like there's nothing inside it. So unless you completely break the gun so it will never function, you'll be able to have a gun that goes bang every time. And with how hot and humid and the salt, there's salt everywhere because, we're surrounded by salt water in Florida. Salt kills things that are metal. Guns are metal. Glocks just last longer. There's a special barrel attachment you can get in special ammo, and divers will actually use Glocks to shoot lionfish underwater. Like that's how reliable a Glock is. So
What do lionfish do?
they're just an invasive species that fuck shit up.
the slide on a Glock, the metal is so much harder. Our machinist goes through three times the amount of tools going through Glock slides, cutting Glock slides, than any other slide, because the metal is just that much higher quality.
Yeah.
It burns down the tips of the CNC machine 3 times faster.
Yeah. Now, that being said, Glocks are ugly as shit, and they're not super comfortable in your hand, and that's why you want undercuts, at least. You guys offer undercuts, and they do like everything custom to a Glock you could want. I'm pretty sure every other gun in here, too. But they work. It's just, they work. So, that's for your sidearm. And then for rifle, pretty much anything that's 5.56 and takes PMags. So, an AR, a Bren. I mean, all the Qs are just super nice ARs. But you want stuff that you have video game logic, for lack of a better way of putting it, where if you cannot come to an awesome store like we're sitting in right now and buy replacement parts or have somebody work on your gun, what is going to be most readily available for you to scavenge if, you have to fix your shit? Everybody has ARs. Everybody has Glocks. Military, law enforcement, like, that's the most common thing. But that's for America. If you go to another country, they might not be using that. So whatever your local area, whatever the most common guns are, that's kind of what you want to use, just for availability of parts and being able to fix stuff. And you have to think about, like, does it work in my environment? Like, if it gets too hot, if it gets too cold, what type of sand is around? Because sand will get inside guns and then the gun just jams up. So that's why I say Glock and pretty much any type of AR, or like, I'm partial to the Bren 2MS, just because it's a piston. And then I like the LWRC's like piston ARs. They're just a little smoother to shoot, but they work. They do the same thing. Doesn't matter.
But not the SIG piston systems, not the Spears.
So the SIG ARs aren't terrible at all. I'm talking about more so the SIG handguns for Florida.
Okay.
Versus a Glock. Like, I would choose a Glock all day, every long. Most of the SIG rifles and stuff are pretty decent.
One thing that I'd like to add is, number one thing you hear a lot is, AK's better, AK's this, AK's that. My biggest problem with that is, if there is a shooting type situation where I actually have to use a rifle, if I pull an AK, I'm getting shot by the nearest good guy. That's reality.
There could be some truth to that.
Yeah, apart from the whole AK is more reliable, in my opinion, being more of a myth, even if that were the case and you truly believe that, be careful about how you present yourself. If you're actually thinking about using this rifle in a situation where you might have to use a rifle, look something that looks like a good guy gun.
Yeah. What he means by good guy gun is Hollywood has trained everybody that if you have an AK, you are the bad guy. If you have an AR, you are the good guy.
Yeah,
like,
pretty much.
It's subliminal. Like, every TV show, so, like, if you watch SEAL Team, all the good guys have ARs, all the bad guys have AKs. If you go all the way back to, I think it was just called Navy SEALs with like Charlie Sheen and those guys. Was that movie? Yeah, same thing. The bad guys all had AKs. The good guys had MP5s.
Yeah.
So we're just programmed, because most people think about, this is what we need to know from Hollywood, because they're not gun people, or they live in a state where they can't have it, which they rely on TV to tell them what's real.
You could probably pass for a Palestinian.
Yeah, that's a big thing for me as appearances. Even if you are using an AR, having it set up professionally, in my opinion, is important. And when I say professional, I mean just at least looks professional.
Yeah.
If you see someone who's got one of those fin braces on a 7-inch handguard, like 7-inch barrel, 6-inch handguard AR, and it's got one of the Amazon red dots on it with that coily wire laser thing, like,
and a bunch of chromed out parts or whatever, you're
if I were in a life or death situation, I had to make a choice. If I saw someone holding something with, as simple as just an EOTech, a flashlight, and a sling on it, that inspires much more confidence.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, and then if you
think people would subliminally know that?
I think so. I mean,
because Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like, if you watch, any of the stuff you watch, the good guys all look basically the same. Like their guns are similar, everything. And it's just, you're kind of trained that that's a good guy. And if you are ever in that situation, start yelling commands to people. Be like, it sounds really stupid, but you're a good guy with a gun, like literally single somebody out, point at them and be like, you call 911 right now, give them my description, tell them that I am one of the good guys on site. Please don't shoot me when they get here. And any information that you can start relaying about what's happening with the shooter, whoever the bad guy is, whatever, start telling them, say how many people are on the ground, how many, like everything. That way, all of that is being recorded on the 911 phone call. When law enforcement does get there, as soon as you see them, if your weapon is slung, sling it and be like, hey, I'm not the bad guy. This is the information I have. Want me to take my gun up? As soon as you start acting the part, people will start listening. Actually, I think I heard the statistic on the Sean Ryan podcast, but like 80% of people are followers. Like only 20% of people have critical thinking skills. Everybody else just does what they're told. So if you're one of the people that is in that 20% that can, send out a commanding voice and be like, hey, I need you to do this, they'll just be like, oh, okay, I'm being told what to do. I'm going to call 911 now.
The singling out is very important too.
Yeah.
Just a general statement usually won't do anything.
Yeah.
Gotta point it at
Like you literally have to point at one person and tell them to do it. And if they don't do it instantly, be like, you failed, you next. And I mean, some people are just going to be in shock. And then, just because it's a bad situation, most people have no idea what to do if anything goes wrong. In the same situation, it doesn't matter if there's an active shooter or a bad guy. If something happened accident-wise, like you could be driving down whatever highway and you're the first person there because you just watched the car in front of you flip. If you stop and you try to pull people out or whatever, whoever else is walking up, they don't know what to do if they're not. Maybe they stopped, but they don't know what to do from there. You can start telling them, hey, call 911, say this is what's happened. It doesn't matter the situation. You just have to be the person that goes, okay, I'm going to delegate everything out that needs to happen, and people will listen.
What do you what do you think is going to happen after the election?
Fuckery.
So fuckery if
it doesn't matter who wins. So I want to know why. What was it, like a couple weeks ago? They passed the new thing where where
you know that, Omar,
where the military is now able to be mobilized on U.S. soil against U.S. citizens. So I was like, that's weird. And then when you start putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, it was like a month
Omar,
ago.
do you know what that is? Mm-hmm. Can you explain to everybody exactly what happened?
I mean, it's pretty much what he said.
What's it called, Wick?
I don't remember exactly what it's called. I read all of the crap and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what it means. So I generally try to just summarize things for people that don't want to take the time to read stuff.
So there was something like some kind of executive order or something got signed and lethal force can be used on American citizens.
Yes.
For some reason out of the blue, they signed that into law or executive action, 2 weeks ago?
About that time frame.
Remember the Civil War movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the whole prerequisite to that entire movie was that the president used U.S. troops on American citizens.
Airstrike.
That's why everything happened. And they just made that legal.
Yeah. So that's, weird.
A little weird
timing. But what also was interesting is, I think it was about a month ago, I forget which senator or whoever it was he said it. He's like, we're going to have to be prepared for civil war conditions when we don't certify the election if Trump wins. Like, they cheat. We all know the other side cheats. That's what they do. For some reason, our side always tries to take the high ground and go, no, we're going to do it the right way and we'll just win that way. And they're like, yeah, no, we play dirty. So they openly said the quiet part out loud of, if Trump wins, we're not going to certify the election and we have to be prepared for civil war conditions. It's like, okay. The Kamala rally from the other day.
What Kamala rally?
I don't remember where it was, but there was a decent amount of people there. One of the Border Patrol guys that had access to data, there was hundreds of known cartel members there based off of the cell phone activity. They were just there as part of the rally, like in the crowd.
Whoa, where'd you see that?
Did I save that?
It's similar to something that I was talking about, where you can track cell phone data now, and you
Yeah.
can pretty much see which phones have been where, when,
Yeah.
and it brings up some crazy results. Like, that's how people are able to confirm that a lot of the people that show up to our rallies have gone to all of our rallies.
Right.
None of them are local.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing that they used to find out that, like, the Thomas Crooks, the kid who shot at Trump, 3 cell phones went to his house on 3 different occasions, and then went to the CIA headquarters or the Pentagon or FBI headquarters.
Across the street from the
Across
FBI.
street from
Yeah.
yeah. It's how, like, this is literally a tracking device. Everywhere you go, they know you have it. It's why you anytime you download an app and you just click yes to the permissions, like, it's listening to everything we're saying right now. Have you ever noticed how, like, you'll talk about something, then all of a sudden you're getting ads for that thing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's why. It's like, we just went, oh, sure, you can spy on us. We'll keep you in our pocket, because that makes life convenient for everybody.
That's a crazy thing that I feel like for the longest time, and I mean, still to this day, it's always denial. It was like, no, it's not actually listening to you. It's not actually doing that.
actually
It 100% is, and like each day it becomes less believable that it's not.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a fulcrum point at one point where it just all crashes down. It's like, oh, 100% everything you do is being spied on. But right now we're in this weird area where if you think about it, if you look at your life experiences, 100% you are, but it's still not, confirmed that people are still in denial of it. It's like, it's not actually listening to you. 100% it is.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can test it right now.
Isn't that out in the open already? But like, different people, or I don't know if there are companies going after like Google and Facebook and all these for phones taking too much information and other electronic devices.
For sure, but in the public mind, in my opinion, the average person doesn't think, yeah, this thing is literally listening to every single thing you say, and it's processing that data to figure out what ads to show you so that what you buy. And that's not all that it's using that information for.
Yeah.
So that's that 80-20 statistic. 80% of people lack critical thinking, and 20% of people do. The 80% of people just listen and go, oh, CNN told me this, so I'm going to believe it. And that's, oh, your phone isn't actually spying on you. Well, the news told me it's not spying on me, so it's got to be true. Whereas anybody else that has any critical thinking can just look around and go, they may be saying that, but I see evidence here, 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 and here that is completely contradictory to what they're saying. Why are they telling me that? Are they lying to me outright, or do they just not know themselves?
So if Trump wins and they do certify the election, what do you see happening?
Antifa and like Black Lives Matter riots all over the place again, just because George Soros will continue to fund like burning down cities.
DAs that let him go.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be kind of fun.
Well, it could be. Like, I don't really think it'll happen here because we're a very red state, and everybody here has a gun. Even
Correct.
people that aren't supposed to have guns here, and we all pretty much think the same. Of Florida man is gonna Florida man, and we don't want people to fuck with Florida.
What about you guys? What do you guys think? What do you guys? I mean, it's almost here. It's like what, 10 days?
Regardless of what happens, there's going to be a lot of public discord, let's say, for the light part. But obviously, I feel like it's going to be a much more aggravated response if Trump wins. I think there'll still be a lot of riots, a lot of burning down, regardless of who wins. But I mean, I feel like the best way to summarize it is Kamala's interview with Fox News, where they ask her, like, hey, 80% of the country believes that the country's headed in the wrong direction. You've been in office. Why? And her answer is, well, Trump's been running.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if he doesn't win. It doesn't matter if Kamala wins the election. He still exists. What he stands for still exists.
Yeah.
There will not be peace. No justice, no peace.
Yeah.
This doesn't end with this election. I think this is probably the most, I mean, for sure of my life, but this is the most important election, one of the most important elections. But it doesn't end here.
What do you think, Dean?
I think no matter who wins, I think we're going to get the same amount of backlash from either side. The losing side's going to be angry, no matter which one it is. So I'm a little worried, to tell you the truth.
Really?
But keep my eyes open and keep my head down. And
You live in such a nice place, though.
I do. So that's a positive. But I will not be caught my pants down. I'll just leave it at that.
What about you, Luke?
I think they really need to like make sure the election is like called within the first like 2 days. Like if it goes longer than that, I think there'll be incidents like in the next couple weeks. I think that if something happens, it'll probably be
Sorry.
no problem. It'll probably be, in January before the inauguration and the certification or whatever. But I think that in the next couple weeks, if by the Thursday after the Tuesday voting, I think if they don't have it all set, like this is the winner, we're gonna have problems.
One thing I predict happening if Trump wins is something very similar to January 6th that will have a very, very different media reaction, let's say. Because that's usually what you see is the same thing that, like, for example, when Trump won in 2016, every single news anchor was saying that how the election was stolen. And then 4 years later, when the other side starts saying it, suddenly every single news anchor is saying that the election is stolen is violence and it's a threat to our democracy. I see this pattern. I see this pattern all the time of back and forth of one side does something and it gets this reaction, and the other side does the exact same thing and it gets the complete opposite reaction. If Trump wins, I see something similar it would be really funny if a bunch of Democrats took the Capitol and then for the next 3 years we're listening to the justification of why that was fine, but this wasn't.
My so the thing that I think about with Antifa and Black Bloc is it's been a couple years, and I don't know if they've replenished their numbers, because people get older. They get older, they go do things, they get jobs, they start families. Like
these people.
Yeah,
you're right. I don't know, and you're thinking, well, not these people, but like the Antifa cells, if you will, like the amount of people, like the people that were involved in the BLM riots. They've had are they still there? Are they ready? Are they on standby?
Trust me on this. The Department of Education will ensure there is a fresh load of new candidates.
Well, my problem with that is I've seen a lot of the new candidates that come out, and they're not the rioting type.
Those are the ones you see.
Okay.
So
But and also with BLM, there's been they've uncovered their vice dude or their head dude went to prison for embezzling the BLM money, and so I don't know if there'll be the amount of people we saw during the BLM summer.
So here's the thing with that: if you have 1,000 people at a BLM riot, 10 of them are actual Black Lives Matter. The rest of them are just opportunistic people that were there. Like, they may have shown up to be like, oh, hey, what's going on? And then the rioting mentality starts coming out. The individual is smart. People in a group are dumb. Because of that 80%, they just start doing what everybody else is doing. So to get a riot to happen, you just need 10, 20 people there to start the instigating of it. And then all of the people that are followers go, oh, they're doing it. Let's do that too. Why are we doing it? I don't know, but we're all doing it now, so we'll do it. It's like, oh, everyone's breaking all the windows to the buildings? All right, I'll pick up this trash can and throw it at that one. They're not thinking. They're just reacting and doing what everyone else around them is doing. They may not even have ever, gone to Black Lives Matter Facebook page. They might not even be there to actually support Black Lives Matter. They're just there because, oh, it's Friday night and I wanted to go do something with my friends. And now, because they're in that 80% of they don't think for themselves, now they're breaking into shit. They're, throwing Molotov cocktails, doing whatever they're doing because everybody else is doing it.
Do you see the country going towards civil war?
I don't know.
Or even people deciding to secede?
I don't think so.
I don't think secede would really be a thing. I do think there might be a lot of infighting and just people being stupid, but civil war wouldn't be like what most people would think it would be. It would be, you're still going to have to go to work. Like, you're running the shop here, and maybe downtown Sarasota, there's gunfights happening on a regular basis because this side doesn't like this side's political views or whatever. But right over here, nothing's happening. So we still have to carry on with our normal everyday lives. Like, you're still going to have to eat. Like,
You still have to go to Publix.
yeah, you got to get them pub subs. If you
Pub
don't live
subs.
in Florida, go to Publix when you're here and get a pub sub.
My personal theory on the whole thing is, I mean, I think the entire thing is the frog in the boiling pot of water. Everybody seems to think that there's going to be this one day where everything goes to shit and everybody takes up arms and goes and declares civil war, secession, or whatever it may be. I don't think it's like that. I think the other side is much more calculated. It's little by little by little by little, where yesterday doesn't seem any different than today, but if you look back at 5 years from now, suddenly your country starts looking a lot like Somalia.
Yeah.
You're going to wake up one day and realize that it's already happened. It's not going to be one day where some big event happens and everybody takes up arms. It's just slowly, assault weapons ban here. Oh, ban on handguns because of crime there. I'm going out of the gun angle because of where we are, but it could be in every angle. One day you can't spread misinformation. The next day you can't do hate speech. The next day you can't criticize. It's just slowly taken away, and I don't think they will ever allow there to be one big fire that lights everybody's asses on fire. It's going to be little by little, and it's going to be a small enough change to where it doesn't instigate anybody to go and declare war.
Don't you think stealing an election, though, could be that big thing? Like, if it's very obvious, like...
They already did it.
Okay,
my theory
doing
on
it
that
twice.
My theory on that is different. I think the idea of stealing an election that people have in their head is very different from what I see. People think taking in wheelbarrows of ballots or hacking voting machines. I see it a lot more of understanding that 80% of the people just follow, understanding that there's these 3 companies that control literally all of the information that they get, and just influencing that a hair, just enough. I think Google, my personal theory is I think the stealing of the 2020 election, whatever you want to call it, they did not have to drop off ballots. All they have to do is get enough of that 80% of people to believe that one guy will literally kill you and the other guy is literally the savior of all humanity, and just feed them all of the information that they get, feed them in a way to where it supports that belief. Don't show them anything that goes against it. Show them everything that supports it, and they will not dig further. They will not do critical thinking. They will not do their own research. All you have to do is influence that innate thing we have in society where 80% of the people kind of just like to follow and don't like to dig in anymore. Even if that statistic, the numbers don't add up 1-to-1, you just have to influence enough people, and it's easier now than it's ever been.
No, it's not.
Well,
of course it is. There's 3 companies that control...
The public school system, literally, you're indoctrinated to repeat this, remember it, put it on the test. You are now smart. You don't need to think about anything. Just, we told you this is the information. All you need to do is remember this information. And when it comes time to do the test, repeat the information. You don't need to think about anything else. Over the years, they've cut out shop, home ec, art classes, anything that encourages like critical thinking or individual thinking or imagination, because anything where you're thinking for yourself, you are not a good little worker bee. The whole public school system, even like when you get up into the very expensive colleges, they are all geared to, you are going to go work for somebody else. You are going to be a good little worker bee. You're going to do whatever they tell you to do. You're going to go to work 9 to 5 every single day. You're going to, pay your rent, pay your car payment. And then on the weekends, you're going to go out with your friends and have fun. And you're going to spend all your money. And then you're going to repeat the process until you die.
I get that, but think of the year is 1930. Mm-hmm. Where do you get your information from? You get it from 2 or 3 newspapers and a radio station.
Here's what I'm saying. If you're an evil guy who wants to control all the information, you can't do that in the 1930s.
Yes, they did. Well, Hearst did that in the 30s.
What I'm saying is...
people did that. And I think it was more than today. And people were just so bought into this that they just all agreed. But now there's just so much information, correct information, fake news, whatever you want to call it, all different. The people, I feel like, are waking up to the fact that yeah, there's different options, and the stuff that people are telling us is bullshit.
Well,
And I just feel like,
think about the best
You're
example.
making Luke mad.
well, I'm just
The best
Luke
example.
is getting mad.
Well, no, you're right to an extent. So back then, everyone would wake up, read the morning newspaper, and they would find out what was happening around the rest of the world and go, okay, that's cool. And they would put it down because they didn't care.
that's true.
They would be like, all right, now what's going on with my neighborhood? What's going on in my city? And it would literally be before you would get home from school, your parents would already know that you're in trouble because, so-and-so's mom saw you do something and called, your mom and said, hey, little Timmy just threw a brick through a thing. And now you're getting your ass kicked. Because people cared more about their surroundings and their immediate neighbors and their well-being than what happened states away. They were like, oh, okay, that sucks. Anyhow, back to our normal everyday lives because we can't see anything. Now we have a cell phone and we're inundated with information from the entire planet all day, every day, to the point where you walk around outside and everyone's just on their phone. Nobody pays attention to who their neighbors are anymore. If it was the 1930s, you and your Karen who hates dogs, you would have been friends. You may not have been good friends, but you would have been like, all right, I understand. You have no reason to talk to your neighbors most of the time now.
The best example I can give to what you were saying is the Hunter laptop story, where that information getting out to enough people would have swayed the election, proven.
Yeah.
How many people do you think it took to sit in a room and decide that information cannot reach the average person? Was it 2 people, 3, 4?
Yeah, but
there's such a small amount of people that have so much control now that all it takes is for at most 10 people to sit in a room and decide this information will not exist in the public mind anymore.
I think there was less people making those decisions 50 to 60 years ago.
But you would have had to convince a fuck ton of people to actually go through with it. It's a moon landing story thing where it's if the moon landing was faked, it would have taken thousands and thousands of NASA engineers, people that were recording it, all this stuff to go along with it. Now, to do a conspiracy, you have to have 3 people in a room to make a decision and hit a button.
The moon landing's probably fake.
That's a whole other can.
It's probably fake.
But
because you can't get past the fucking
radiation.
Yeah. That's a whole different thing. But again, if you wanted to fake it, it would have taken a fuck ton of people. I would say if the moon landing was faked, that's almost as impressive as going to the fucking moon because of how many people you would have had to have on board and willing to keep their mouths shut. So, now you don't have to do that. You don't have to have people to keep their mouths shut. It's just a couple guys in a room that hit a button and that sways what information half the fucking country relies on. That's all they get.
And that button is, does this go viral or not?
Exactly.
Literally, they just have to say, all right, so this little clip, this little reel, this whatever on, Twitter, Instagram,
well, the
TikTok.
thing though is Twitter is free.
Now,
but that's a big.
A little bit ago, it wasn't.
It's a big difference nowadays. You can't hide from Twitter.
Sure, but there's people that don't go on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You think that
they would though? If they if
TikTok is the biggest one.
Yeah. If it came down to it, people would. If people learned that they could only find correct information on X, then eventually everybody would start going over there.
Why? You can choose to keep living in your fantasy land where you are comfortable, or you can go out and experience the uncomfortable truth. Do you think a majority of Americans want to experience the uncomfortable truth, or do you think they want to continue living in their bubble where everything is fine?
The latter.
I don't think the average person has this quest for true information like you think they do. I think the average person would much rather be told exactly what they want to hear and go about their life being ignorant and happy.
I think what would happen is a large amount of violence done to the American people. That's what would pop things off. So you're talking about you can't, we have to still go to work tomorrow. I get it.
Okay, who's going to do the violence?
Federal government.
Why would they?
Don't know. But that's
who?
They boil the water slowly.
Don't know.
So
what I'm saying is for something to get to where it's I'm not saying it's happening. I'm not saying it's probable, but it could if there was a large amount of like Kent State times 10 If at January 6th they would open up with M4s or something, it got violent. Then I think the states would say, hey, fucking, we need to have a talk.
I think the enemy is smart enough to not make that major move. Like I said, they would much rather...
People make mistakes.
Sure. I think they would... I think they're very... I think what is attributed to ignorance a lot of the time is calculated very specifically to cause a specific amount of outrage.
But your rationale your rationale is like, well, who's going to ever do the violence? And they never will, because they're too smart, because they know that they can just control the country according to the frog story, right? You'll eventually just lose everything if you just give it enough time. I present to you that there are rebel factions all over the world that from countries where people have just said enough, like Colombia. For 75 years, there's been rebel factions, but all over the world, there's rebel factions trying to topple oppressive governments that resulted from people saying just enough. And I think for the United States to say it there'd have to be a large act of violence. If there was a large act of violence, people would say no more. Now, what would that look like afterward? I think it would look like states would just start saying, hey, man, we need to fucking have a talk. Like, this isn't like, we're not going to like, let's say if Florida, right? Or Texas and like election gets stolen and somehow protests happen and they smoke 200 citizens. Violence gets out of hand, like somebody eventually, so how? Well, what if somebody breaks down a barrier and they pull out an M4, or they have or they put a Manchurian candidate and do an improvised explosive device. And then government, National Guard people smoke the protest. Now you have hundreds of American citizens dead. I think that would propel states that are heavy red, or let's say heavy blue. If it was the tables were turned, they would say, we need to have a talk. Like, this isn't like your election is not valid. And then you just opened up and killed American citizens. Then I think something along those lines. That's the only way I can see it actually happening. Not that I advocate for it, or not that I want it to happen, but I think like what's that saying? The greatest con the devil ever did to people was make him think he didn't exist.
Yeah.
Right? What's the line from that movie?
I think you hit it pretty good.
Right. So it's the same thing, and it's evil. It's the thing that we're thinking is you're thinking like, well, they don't need to ever do such a thing because the frogs, it'll just happen.
Well, here's sorry. Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
Here's another option for violence. So we know that there's, what is it? A minimum. The lowest end number is 200,000 confirmed people from terror watch lists have come across the southern border.
Yep.
So
it's not that.
What if this will make you think slightly differently. So if they all divide up and go to states, like split up among the states evenly, and each state would have, a handful of teams of 5, just a basic 5-man fire team, and they all are coordinated enough to just go get guns anywhere they can. Doesn't matter if they're good guns, shitty guns, just have guns. And at 12 noon, have them all divided up into Team A, Team B. Team A goes to this side of the town and just picks a random fucking target. Doesn't matter if it's a mall, a McDonald's, a school, wherever, and they just start shooting people. Every single person in that town that is a first responder is going to go there to handle that situation, because we haven't had 5-man fire teams do that. Well, then 30 minutes, 45 minutes later, when the entire group of first responders for that whole area is over here, Team B starts shooting up a place over here. Everyone's busy. If every state has, 8 of those situations happen in the same day, how many people are going to go, government, please help us. We don't want something like this to happen. And they go, oh, well, we need to take your guns. We need to do this. We need to add in the the social credit score. We need to monitor everything that's happening so we can keep you safe, because we understand you just want to go to work. You just want to be able to, have your food, have something simple, like something that simple.
Patriot Act Part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could really get and say that's the reason why they let in the terrorist.
It's a possibility. No idea.
Well, I think another interesting thing would be if our own military, if there's rifts in our own military, like what you said, for example, if there's like a mass casualty event and then, part of our military generals want to do this and some of them are saying, no, we're not doing that. That's how you get a civil war. I think that would be another plausible scenario. Because I know people in the military. I'd hope they don't.
In the military?
My cousin's a Master Chief in the Navy. My buddy's a Marine.
Master Chief?
Yeah.
No way.
And like, I don't think they would like be like, oh, I'm just going to go kill a bunch of Americans today. And I don't think they would be, they're not, machines. The Marine might be a machine, but I don't know.
But what about
it's
that
hard to
statistic?
say.
They're saying that 80% of us are followers.
Yeah.
But 20% of the military is a large portion of the military,
Which is why I think they would never make the mistake of ordering something like that. They would much rather do it slowly over the course of whether it be generations or years or whatever it may be, and just get you to a point where you can't fight back anymore. Like I said, if overnight they banned guns, it would definitely be civil war. If they gave the order for the military to shoot up a bunch of Americans, instantly it would be civil war. But no, they won't ban all the guns in one night. They'll ban this group of guns first. Then a couple of years later,
They will if what
guns.
they will if what Wick says happens.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
They would do that.
That's the extreme of it.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, that's what gun control is you isolate groups, you make the common public scared of that group of firearm, get rid of it, and then they'll never fight for it back because conservatives don't really conserve much these days. Okay, we lost assault weapons. Nobody's going to fight for assault weapons back, not in any serious capacity. We got machine guns banned by Reagan. We're not getting those back, ever.
Oh.
Little by little, by little by little, you just take away until all you're left with is fucking nothing. And now nobody had the gall to go, take up arms and cause civil war or whatever it might be. But by the time you've realized the predicament that you're in, or the general public has, you don't have guns anymore. You can't do shit.
That's literally the whole premise of the movie V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
Like when she's in the not jail, but jail, and she's reading that letter, it says, so we didn't say anything when they came after this group of people because they didn't have anything to do with us. And then they came for this group of people, and we didn't say anything because it didn't have anything to do with us. And then a little bit, and a little bit, and a little bit. And then when they finally came for us, there was nobody left to stand up for us.
That's in a Shakespeare play too.
But it's that same thing. Like, they're going to take a little bit here, a little bit here. Like I just said with the schools, like they take away all the things that encourage critical thinking. Art, music, shop class, stuff to teach you like actual useful stuff, or just how to use your brain outside of memorize this, put it on a piece of paper. Like, they're removing everything that encourages thinking, and that's that slow erosion. Like, kids nowadays are dumb as fuck.
It's the first time
My
in
kids
history.
aren't.
It's the first time in history where the newest generation, has a lower average IQ than the one before. My generation was the last one because for all of human history, as long as we've recorded it, the average IQ of a person has gone up per generation until Zoomers, me, to Gen Alpha, the newest ones, like Ava's age group, the average IQ went down for the first time ever. And if that pattern continues, I mean, that's huge that nobody's talking about that, but for as long as we recorded it, average IQ has gone up. With this newest generation, which is, 2010 and on or whatever it is, the exact number I don't know, has gone down. Kids are verifiably getting dumber, and it's in a way that completely goes against the pattern we've seen throughout all of history as long as we've recorded it.
My kids are smart though.
What's a factor
They
for that? They get to watch you do this. They get to watch you take 2 tables at a gun show and turn it into, you own like this block currently. They've literally gotten to watch you go the system says be a cookie cutter like this. I'm going to do this, and now you're one of the people that has 70 employees. You're the person telling 70 people what to do. They are literally, your kids are getting to grow up and witness that, hey, maybe doing this cookie cutter mold that the school system is telling me isn't exactly what I should do. So they're able to see something different. Whereas the average person that, works at Walmart, 7-Eleven, wherever, and they're just there to get their 9 to 5 paycheck, their kids are going to school and are going to end up working at Walmart, working at 7-Eleven, doing the same exact
Amazon.
thing. Yeah, doing the same thing that they see on a daily basis. Like, some of my friends that I've known forever since I was a kid, their primary source of income is like doing Instacart and DoorDash and stuff like that, and they complain constantly that they are broke as fuck. They have no money, they don't know what they're going to do, and I'm like, start a business. Do something other than
OnlyFans.
I don't know, there's some pretty ugly motherfuckers.
There's something for everyone.
Yeah. But like
Only feet.
there's options. But you just have to have that thing inside you that says, I'm going to push myself to do better.
I tried to get my wife to do OnlyFans with me like the other day. She was like, fuck no. I was like, we'll wear masks.
Feet finder's a lot easier.
Okay.
Just take pictures of your feet, and some weird motherfucker out there will pay you thousands of dollars. And
Okay.
Put your foot on all the different guns, take a picture.
So you were at January 6th.
Yep.
You were there. Do you guys know that?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Can you
there.
say that? Can you say that?
Yeah, can
Yeah.
you say that?
Yeah, I don't care.
I heard there's a commission.
I was posting it on Instagram, and then magically on the 7th on the way home, all of my accounts on everything got deleted. Here, you can zoom in. Which one is this? There we go.
You're gonna get a knock on the door from the FBI. Hey, I heard you
Ah.
got a guy on the podcast. We had some questions.
Can you give us like well, you know who was also there? Fucking that doctor from the dentist. What's his name? What's that one doctor's name who comes in here? The dentist from Lakewood Ranch.
Oh, I don't know.
Starts with a K.
Probably not best to not
Yeah.
dox them.
Too late.
Too late.
They already have the information. He said something. Yeah, no, I went up there with one of my buddies and like a couple of his friends just because we felt like going to the Trump rally, and we were like, well, we don't know what's going to happen. So like,
Where did you guys stay? Like, how did you find a hotel?
He did that. I have no idea.
Okay.
We all like carpooled, crammed in one little ass car and drove up there. But yeah, it was a good time. Like, that Trump spoke, like there was an insane amount of people there. Like, I've been to Trump rallies where, it fills up the stadium and then there's still a shit ton of people outside. Those are small compared to how many people were just at the Capitol. Like, just an insane amount of people. It's just a sea of people as far as you can go. I love the people that have the very capitalist mentality and like brought like folding tables and were selling shirts and hats and stuff. Those guys made bank that day. But then, after he was done speaking, he said, everyone walk over and protest peacefully over it. So that's, everyone just kind of walked over there, and we were just hanging out outside the building. Like, as we got closer to the building, people that were more towards the front of the line, they were shooting us with pepper balls and throwing tear gas at us and crap like that.
What, spontaneously? They just did that?
No, so there's hard lines. So basically, the first little set of metal prop-up fences, like you would, walk through a line to get into a building, they had different lines of those set up. So the first one, it's like, hey, don't go any further. If you cross the second one, then they can use, pepper balls, tear gas, stuff like that, non-lethal. And then if you cross the third one, that's when like hands-on is authorized. So the first line, like half of them were just open for people to just walk through. Like, then all the Capitol Police and whatnot were lined up at the third hard line. So we were some of the guys carrying that giant American flag, like you've seen the pictures and videos, that massive American flag that everyone was carrying, and we were helping carry that. Then we climbed up the bleachers to get it like connected to the side of the bleachers, and then like climbed back down and like went forward. But after you cross the second hard line, they're shooting you with pepper balls, tear gas, all that stuff, and then get up to the third hard line, and like all the Capitol Police that were right there, I was like, hey, I understand what these lines mean. Like, I'm not going to cross this because I'm not here for violence. I'm not here to cause problems. Like, we're just here to be like, hey, we don't like the fuckery that's happening. And that's it. I watched plenty of other people that were in that 80% where there were instigators. You could 100% tell that they were just sent there to be instigators because their clothes didn't match. So what I mean by that is, like, so, you know, I'm wearing 511 pants. They're dirty. There's holes in them. Like, I've been wearing these for a long time. They're not brand new. My hat's not brand new. My shirt's not brand new. Like, everything that I wore there, not brand new. The people that were yelling, screaming, trying to, like, instigate people to be stupid, their clothes look like the tags had been ripped off them that morning. Like, they didn't belong. If you're using your critical thinking skills, you can look at them and go, something's not right with you.
Morning, officer.
Yeah.
People didn't say you're a fucking fed. What are you doing?
No, because there was tons of us there. Like, you could tell the people that were actually there. Like, I wasn't the only person in body armor. There was a fuck ton of people in body armor because most of us don't trust the government because the government continually tries to fuck everybody in America on a regular basis. And even if the government isn't doing something there, that's we knew it would be like a very important like event with so many people. You don't know who's in the crowd that might do something stupid. Because there's instigators, there's people that like to see violence just for the sake of violence. They don't even have an end goal. They just want to fuck shit up. So like there was, I don't even know how many people.
When you were there, you definitely think you saw agent provocateurs.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No idea who they were.
And they were instigating those 20% people were instigating the other 80% into doing stupid shit like crossing the third line, and all those people went to jail.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like I watched people just like hop over it, and then the Capitol Police just fucking dive on them and literally drag them around where I couldn't see them anymore. And it's like, well, you're dumb. It's like going in the building, like everyone that went in the building went in from the back. Like I was around the front of the building. I didn't see that. And even if I had, I would have been like, that's probably a bad idea. Like, it doesn't matter if they're waving you in. If there's, you know, a riot happening on the other side of the building, they're not going to let people just walk in. Like, there's so many things that don't add up that if you're using your critical thinking skills, it's maybe I shouldn't do this.
There's a fourth hard line, too, where they just shoot you.
Yeah, which Ashley Babbitt discovered that fourth hard line.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the line into the Congress.
Yeah.
It was just a doorway. Crawl if you
So the way that works is you have if you're on an EP detail, so executive protection, like you're tasked to protect whoever, you're setting up where that fourth hard line is. Or for you, it's going to be this line is, I have decided if anybody gets past this, I have to use lethal force because I have to keep whoever I'm tasked to protect alive. He chose just whatever Capitol cop, like the person I have to protect is over here. If they come through this door, I have nowhere else to go. There is no egress. I just have to shoot them. Like, I can tell them, hey, don't do this, don't do whatever, but I have to shoot them. That's literally my job.
That guy died, didn't he?
the girl did.
No, the girl did.
No, the guy died.
No, nobody else apart from Ashley on January 6th.
The guy.
Yeah, some of the Capitol
The guy
Police-
killed himself later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't the one who shot Ashley.
No, it was somebody else. Like several people died after the fact, but nothing to do with J6. It was just, complications happened, or their health wasn't so great.
Were you ever questioned or anything? Did they ever show up to your house and said, "Hey, what are you doing, Wick?"
No, they showed up at my buddy that I went with. The Fed showed up at his house, and they were like, "Hey, we're here to talk to you about," and he said, "Go fuck yourself," and slammed the door, and they never tried to talk to any of the rest of us.
Wow.
Oh wow.
I'd say that's lucky. You see what happened to a lot of people.
He was currently in 7th group at the time.
That would do it.
Yeah, they're not gonna fuck.
Friends in high places.
Yeah.
Always good to have.
And then, there's, what is it, like 400,000 hours worth of footage between security cameras and body cams. Like, even if they had wanted to do something, because I never crossed that line, and whatever body cam footage would be there, like, I'm literally telling them, hey, I'm not here to cause any problems. I'm just going to stand here. Like, I'm not going to do anything stupid because I understand both sides of this. Like, you guys are here because it's your paycheck. And your boss said, hey, this is what you have to do. I know what you have to do. I'm going to not fuck with you. Like,
Was it like so like the customer of ours who went there, real affluent guy, and he went up there, and like they went up there because it was a Trump rally, and they said they were having a nice time, and then it got kind of crazy, but he didn't say it was like what we saw on the news.
oh no, it's completely different.
Like it was
the fun.
Like it looked like combat. Like it looked like the footage you see on Vice or like you. But since you were there, was it like that?
No, it was like a bunch of people having a good time at a Trump rally, and then towards the end of the day, there was a bunch of tear gas and pepper balls and just a handful of people falling for the instigators, and then.
So it was a handful of people.
Yeah, it was. So
It wasn't 400,000 people storming the Capitol in the worst day since Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, no, if 400,000 people had actually stormed the Capitol, everyone would have been inside the building. Like, a handful of people went inside the building. That's not storming a building. That's not trying to take over anything. So if you break it down, by subcategories, like, our side of the aisle, owns all of the guns. Like, there's some people on the other side that are gun owners, but not like we are. And then you break it down, like, most of us have a lot of training. We like guns. We want to be safe with them. So we practice, we learn everything we can to make sure that nobody ever gets hurt. When you break it down and just keep going further down. So you're saying that the people that showed up at January 6th to do an insurrection, to storm the Capitol and overthrow the government, all forgot their guns.
True.
What?
Yeah.
Like, I was literally there with somebody out of 7th group. Where were our guns? You can't have guns in DC. So you can't even have a bullet. Like, you can get in fucking trouble for just having a loose round in your pocket that you forgot about if you get pulled over. So supposedly, we all went there to overthrow the government and make sure Trump was going to be the president, because we didn't like the results of the election or whatever. And we all forgot our guns and just caved at the end of the day and went, okay, we'll go home now. No, it wasn't an insurrection at all. It was, we just went there to go to a Trump rally, hang out, have fun, and some people did some stupid things. And even the handful of people that did stupid things, like, if you watch the videos, most of them are like, oh, hey, there's these little velvet ropes that we're supposed to stay inside these. We're in the building. So we'll just stay inside these and walk around and take pictures with the Capitol guards that are inside the building and be super nice and polite the whole time and not break a whole bunch of shit. And then there's a handful of people that are like opportunistic. Let's steal a podium. Let's try to, get in Kamala's office and steal a bunch of laptops or whatever. That's a handful of people. Like, I mean, even over the many years you've had this business, I'm sure you've had to fire a handful of people because they're just dumb as fuck and do their own thing versus what they're supposed to do at work. You always have, in large groups of people, stupid people that are trying to be opportunistic and do things that are going to make everybody else look bad.
Would you go again?
No, because round 2 will 100% be a trap.
Okay. Sounds like round one was a trap.
Yeah, but there was nothing that you could look around at and see that it was going to be a trap, because it was just going to be a massive Trump rally. Like, that's what it was supposed to be. And then some other shit happened.
The one thing I can take away from our talk, that fucking order they put in, and like they can use lethal force against Americans on American soil now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why would they do that?
Because they're planning something.
Well, you see, half the country is a threat to democracy. And also, I grew up in a middle-class family. So that's why.
You did not. So we're going to call it, we want to thank Wick for coming here and educating us on GTFO knives or these things. And Wick, do you have a website?
Yeah, I have a Shopify. It's I don't remember the name of it. It's the link in my bio. Literally. It's just link in my bio.
What's your handle on Instagram?
Wick, WICK __ actual.
Find him for these things. Thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, good to see you.
And if you guys have the chance to, if you're watching this, please smash the like button and subscribe to our page. Go check out our other social media. Facebook, we are SCT Laser and Customs. We have an Instagram page. We have an X page. We have a Twitter page. And if you are ever in the area of Sarasota, Florida, come on down to our shop. Check it out. It's a very, very nice gun shop. If I have time, I'll take you over across the street. You can meet Omar. And maybe I'll take you in the back and you can meet Luke and Dean. Thank you. We'll see you again.